In the heart of Alaska's brutal winter, where the Yukon River freezes solid and survival itself becomes a challenge, one woman dared to chase gold beneath the ice. Emily Riedel, known as the fearless captain of the Bering Sea, has just shocked the world by uncovering $12 million worth of gold from the freezing depths. But how did she pull off the impossible? What risks did her crew face in the bone-chilling cold? And is this the most daring gold dive in modern history? Before we dive deep into this incredible story of grit, gold, and glory, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more unbelievable true stories. Picture this. You're the only woman running a major dredging operation on the Yukon River. Your crew thinks you're crazy, your competitors want you gone, and you're betting everything on a theory that every expert says is impossible. That's where Emily Riedel stood on a Monday morning in December, staring at foreclosure papers that gave her exactly 3 days to pay $200,000 in outstanding loans. Her dredge, the Heroica, sat locked in ice that had formed 2 weeks early, trapping her season's work beneath a frozen prison. The bank representative, Margaret Chen, delivered the ultimatum with bureaucratic precision that cut deeper than Arctic wind. 3 business days, Ms. Riedel. After that, we seize all assets, including the vessel, equipment, and territorial mining rights. Emily's hands trembled, not from cold, but from rage and desperation. She'd spent 5 years building her operation from nothing, proving that a woman could compete in the most dangerous mining territory on Earth. Now, some banker in an Anchorage office was about to steal everything because of weather patterns beyond her control. Behind her, footsteps crunched across frozen ground. Her dive tender, Jake Morrison, approached, carrying thermal imaging equipment that had arrived on the morning flight from Fairbanks. "Emily!" Jake's voice carried excitement that cut through her despair. "The deep current readings. You need to see this now. Imagine you're desperate enough to bet your life on a geological theory that sounds like science fiction, because what Jake had discovered beneath the Yukon's ice changed everything about placer mining in subarctic rivers. Emily's background in marine biology had taught her things about river systems that traditional miners never considered. While others focused on shallow gravel bars and obvious gold deposits, she'd been studying deep current patterns and prehistoric river channels that lay buried beneath modern waterways. "Look at these thermal signatures," Jake explained, spreading printouts across her kitchen table. The deep channel runs 40 feet below current ice level, following an ancient riverbed that predates the last ice age. And here's the impossible part. Temperatures down there are actually warmer than surface readings. The thermal imaging revealed geothermal activity that shouldn't exist in subarctic river systems. Underground springs were feeding the deep channel with water temperatures that remained above freezing, even when surface conditions dropped to -30. But more importantly, the deep current was moving with enough force to carry heavy materials like gold nuggets that had been accumulating in underwater deposits for thousands of years. "We could access the deep channel through ice diving operations," Jake continued. "Dangerous as hell, but possible with the right equipment and safety protocols." Emily studied the thermal data with growing excitement. This wasn't just about avoiding bankruptcy anymore. This was about proving a revolutionary theory that could transform subarctic mining operations. But her crew thought she was on a suicide mission. Ice diving in December? It sounded insane. Her dredge operator, Tommy Santos, could only shake his head. "Emily, that water will kill you in under 3 minutes," he warned. "Even with dry suits and surface support, you're talking about conditions that have taken the lives of seasoned commercial divers." Her engineer, Rachel Kim, pulled up some grim statistics on her laptop that made everyone fall silent. Arctic diving, even in controlled environments, has a fatality rate nearing 15%. Throw in mining equipment, near zero visibility, and a ceiling of solid ice, and the survival odds dropped so low no insurance company on Earth would cover it. Still, against every rational argument and despite the very real threat to her crew's lives, Emily pushed forward with a kind of reckless determination that bordered on obsession. She sourced specialized ice diving gear from a bankrupt oil exploration firm, dry suits rated for extended Arctic exposure, surface-supplied air systems, and emergency ascent gear originally designed for offshore drill platforms. Her dredge had to be completely reworked. All-night welding sessions, new underwater lighting rigs, heated storage for tools, and a surface communication system strong enough to work through 8 feet of solid ice. "This is crazy," Rachel muttered as she bolted down the thermal sensors. "We're basically building a submarine mining rig out of hardware store parts and sheer desperation." But Emily's background in marine biology gave her an edge no traditional miner could match. She understood water pressure, current dynamics, and how to navigate and operate underwater machinery in ways that turned the impossible into merely dangerous. Her knowledge gave the team a capability beyond anything seen in standard dredging operations. Their first test dive almost turned deadly. Emily lowered herself through a hand-cut hole in the ice, descending into water so cold it bit through her dry suit like liquid nitrogen. Visibility was barely 3 feet. Silt and ice crystals drifted like underwater snow, turning the world into a swirling haze. The river's deep channel lay 40 feet down, reachable only through a tight passage between submerged rocks and ice shelves that could shift at any second. One wrong move and a diver could be trapped forever, with no chance of reaching the surface. Then, at 38 feet, Emily's headlamp caught something that made her forget every risk. The riverbed below shimmered with gold, so dense and brilliant it looked like treasure from a sunken galleon. "Jake," she gasped through her comms, "I'm staring at nuggets the size of chicken eggs, just scattered everywhere, like someone spilled a jewelry box." That first collection dive blew every expectation apart. In just 40 minutes underwater, Emily brought up 47 ounces of gold, worth over $88,000 at current prices. But what lay deeper in the channel defied anything seen in modern mining. Some stretches of the riverbed held over 200 ounces per cubic yard, concentrations richer than anything from the legendary California gold rush, multiplied many times over. Word spread through the Nome mining community faster than a shipwreck rescue story. Within days, other miners were buzzing with curiosity, asking sharp questions about Emily's sudden influx of new equipment and her secretive ice diving operation. But the real danger didn't come from local gossip. It came from the Bering Sea Mining Corporation, a global powerhouse with enough money and lawyers to crush independent miners through lawsuits and claim disputes. Soon, corporate scouts were flying overhead, conducting aerial surveillance of Emily's site, documenting her methods and preparing to copy every trick her small team had developed. Even worse, the company started filing environmental complaints, accusing her of violating federal diving and safety regulations. "They want to shut us down before we can prove how rich this channel really is," Jake muttered, flipping through the stack of legal threats delivered by certified mail. "Once the word gets out about what we've found, every major corporation will swarm this river with industrial dredges." The psychological strain of balancing financial collapse with near-death working conditions began to take a toll on everyone. Rachel started waking from nightmares of equipment failures that could leave Emily trapped beneath the ice forever. Tommy developed constant anxiety about the dredge's ability to withstand the brutal Arctic stress. Yet, Emily pressed on, pushing farther into the labyrinth of ice tunnels and submerged channels. What she found there only deepened her obsession. New pockets of gold, denser deposits, and geological clues that the underwater current might stretch for miles beneath the frozen river. Every dive uncovered something more astonishing than the last, as if they had uncovered a secret no modern miner had ever touched. Her 8th deep dive revealed the most extraordinary discovery yet: a massive gold nugget weighing 23.7 ounces, so large she needed both hands to lift it from the riverbed. It gleamed with a natural purity of 94%, one of the purest samples ever recovered from the Yukon Basin. But along with that treasure came something no one was prepared for: ancient artifacts that predated any known indigenous cultures by thousands of years. Carved tools, shaped metals, and stone instruments lay embedded in the sediment, preserved perfectly in the oxygen-deprived water. "Someone was mining this channel long before us," Emily whispered, holding a fossilized tool that still bore marks of craftsmanship. "Someone who understood deep current gold extraction thousands of years before Europeans ever arrived." The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Archaeologists, universities, and government institutions began to circle, drawn by the implications of what Emily's crew had found. Carbon dating revealed the artifacts were over 6,000 years old, evidence of systematic gold mining far earlier than anyone believed existed in North America. But the discovery also made Emily's operation a target. Corporate surveillance intensified, no longer limited to flyovers and photos. Equipment began failing at critical moments, communications cutting out during deep dives, heating systems shutting down mid-operation, and safety gear mysteriously malfunctioning in ways that could have easily turned fatal. What had started as competition had now become something far darker: sabotage in the freezing depths of the Arctic. "Someone's trying to shut us down permanently," Rachel observed, after discovering sabotage damage to their primary air compressor. "This isn't claim jumping anymore. Someone wants us gone before we can document what's really down there." The breakthrough dive occurred at 6:23 a.m. on a Thursday morning, when Emily descended deeper into the channel than any previous exploration. 47 feet below the surface ice, her headlamp illuminated an underwater cavern where prehistoric floods had concentrated gold deposits over geological time frames. The cavern stretched beyond her lights, containing compressed layers of gold-bearing material that extended through gravel deposits accumulated over millennia. Initial estimates suggested over 8,000 ounces in immediately accessible underwater formations. But accessing the main deposits required diving through chambers where water temperature dropped to near freezing, where equipment failure meant certain death, and where structural collapse could trap divers permanently in underwater tombs beneath crushing ice. "I'm looking at walls lined with gold veins that run through solid bedrock," Emily reported through her communication system. "It's like someone painted lightning bolts with molten treasure." Extraction operations required specialized underwater mining techniques that had never been attempted in subarctic conditions. Hydraulic suction systems operated through surface connections, while Emily worked 40 feet underwater in visibility conditions that barely extended beyond arm's reach. The technical challenges multiplied exponentially. Water pressure at depth affected equipment performance in ways that surface testing couldn't predict. Ice formations shifted overhead, constantly threatening to block ascent routes. Emergency protocols required split-second timing that could mean the difference between successful extraction and fatal disaster. But the gold kept coming. Despite every obstacle, every equipment failure, every indication that the deep channel wanted to remain undisturbed, Extraction continued at unprecedented rates for underwater placer mining operations. Daily yields averaged between 180 and 220 ounces, depending on weather conditions and ice stability. Individual nuggets emerged weighing 8, 12, even 15 ounces each, specimens so pure that collectors offered premium prices far above commodity gold values. The relentless pressure of diving day after day in deadly ice-choked water began wearing down Emily in ways her body and mind could barely endure. Physical exhaustion no longer even registered. Her fatigue ran deeper than muscles or lungs. Sleep became elusive. Her appetite vanished, despite the enormous calories her body burned in sub-zero water, and her mind filled with disturbing, hyper-real dreams. In them, she floated beneath the frozen surface, unable to breathe, while something ancient and unseen stared at her from the black water below. Even on land, she caught herself holding her breath for no reason, as if her body had forgotten where it was, always bracing for the next underwater emergency. But the deeper she explored the channel, the more she realized they were uncovering something that could rewrite history. The fossilized tools they recovered showed traces of advanced metallurgy and precise engineering, evidence that contradicted everything historians believed about early North American civilizations. The chemical analysis revealed traces of ancient gold processing, proof that prehistoric miners had developed underwater extraction techniques thousands of years before Europeans even imagined such things. Who had mined these depths before recorded history began? What knowledge had driven them to dig so deep beneath the ice? And what fate had silenced them so completely? Disaster struck during Emily's 15th deep dive. Without warning, shifting ice formations sealed off her primary ascent route. Surface crews scrambled to follow emergency procedures, struggling to keep contact as she searched for another exit through twisting underwater passages that grew narrower and darker by the minute. For 23 agonizing minutes, Emily was trapped 45 feet below the surface, air dwindling, surrounded by rock and ice that could collapse at any moment. Her headlamp revealed corridors leading even deeper into the channel, but following them meant certain death. When she finally broke through a secondary exit hole, she was half delirious, her hands barely responding to commands. Hypothermia had set in, clouding her judgment and slowing her reflexes. Protocol demanded immediate evacuation, an $18,000 emergency helicopter flight to Anchorage that saved her life by mere minutes. Yet even that near-fatal ordeal revealed something beyond imagination. While searching for an escape path, Emily had stumbled upon what she later called the vault, a natural underwater chamber where ancient floods had concentrated gold on a scale no one had ever seen. "I'm talking about nuggets the size of softballs," she told her stunned crew during recovery. The entire floor was covered in gold, like someone had laid down a carpet of treasure. Geological testing of the samples confirmed the impossible. Gold purities reaching nearly 97%, among the highest natural readings ever recorded. The formation indicated that thousands of years ago, unique flood dynamics had created conditions that no longer existed in modern rivers, turning that hidden vault into one of the richest placer deposits in human history. Over the next 8 weeks, Emily's crew pushed their equipment and their own endurance far beyond any safe limits. They extracted 6,847 ounces of gold from the deep channel, an extraordinary haul worth roughly $12.8 million at $1,875 per ounce. When the prehistoric artifacts and collector-grade specimens were appraised, their total valuation rose by another $3.2 million. Even more staggering, geological mapping of connected underwater chambers suggested that the Yukon River system could contain up to $40 million in future recoverable gold. What had started as a desperate attempt to avoid bankruptcy, just a $200,000 gamble on an impossible idea, had turned into a discovery that defied modern mining science. Emily had proven that deep current mining wasn't just possible. It had been done before, thousands of years earlier, by hands long lost to history. As operations drew to a close and the crew began packing their gear for winter storage, the underwater monitoring system started reporting strange readings that defied logic. The water temperature in the deep channel was fluctuating wildly, warming from below instead of freezing, as if some hidden source of heat had awakened far beneath the riverbed. It didn't match any known seasonal or geological pattern. "Something's changing down there," Jake said quietly, scanning the data that scrolled across his screen. The numbers showed a steady rise in thermal activity, concentrated in regions they had never touched. "Something we disturbed," he murmured, "but can't control." Then, without warning, the corporate surveillance teams from Bering Sea Mining vanished. They pulled out overnight, abandoning high-end monitoring drones and sensor arrays worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. No retrieval attempts, no official statements. Just gone. Even the federal regulators who had been hounding Emily's crew for safety reports and environmental compliance suddenly stopped answering calls or emails. It was as if everyone connected to the site had collectively decided to look the other way. The only ones who reacted were the indigenous communities along the Yukon. Without explanation, they began holding ancient ceremonies near riverbanks connected to the deep channel. Rituals meant to calm the waters and restore balance with the unseen forces that outsiders couldn't comprehend. When Tommy returned from visiting one of the villages, his expression was pale and uneasy. "They say the river is waking up," he whispered, his voice barely carrying over the wind. "Something that's been sleeping down there for thousands of years. Something that should have stayed asleep." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for what's coming next beneath the ice.